You had your special passed on by all the platforms. You put it up yourself. You got nearly 1 million views. And then they came crawling back. How does that feel?
For over 2 decades, Joe DeRosa has quietly built one of comedy's most respected careers.
Stand-up comedian, actor, writer, director, and podcaster.
He's become one of the most respected voices in comedy.
But behind every success is a story of rejection, resilience, and betting on yourself.
This is Joe DeRosa on the Black Hoodie Podcast.
But also, the lesson there for me is just be undeniable. You don't need the gatekeepers.
Well, there's 2 sides to that. I called Joe Rogan, Tony Hinchcliffe, Ari Shaffir, Shane Gillis, Stavros, We Might Be Drunk, which is Mark Normand and Sam Morrell. Rogan hit me back in 30 seconds. And then Hinchcliffe, man, he fucking put me on like 3 Kill Tonys in like 6 weeks. And Emilio, my manager, he was very adamant leading. Almost too dismissive of, whatever, man, we're moving on. What's next? I was like, can I be sad for the weekend? Most offended for the young comics. New York has made it absolutely impossible to pursue your dream in the arts. You can't do it. It's financially impossible unless you're being funded.
Because of inflation.
Yeah, I think you can live hand to mouth in New York and forget it. LA escalating prices has made it impossible. And by the way, the systems in those cities have made it impossible. It is a line a mile long to get into anywhere. It's impossible. Guess what's happening in Austin? There's a ton of young comics here. They're developing at the speed of light because they're able to get on stage every night and they're also able to live like human beings. Isn't that what all of these progressives are bitching that we should be doing? Isn't that what it's all about? That people can actually live and afford food and be able to see a doctor and do exactly what they want to do with their lives? Chelsea made her bones being a horrid human being, saying terrible things that were extraordinarily mean about people. Now that she's got her money, now that it became cool to not say that kind of stuff anymore, she now is going to be the enlightened person teaching on the rest of us how to live. Okay, Chelsea, then sell the mansion and give the money back. You're not going to do that though, are you? These people, they're cons.
Rogan, speaking to you, said something that I don't think many people have picked up on or spoke about. And he mentioned that the mothership pays everyone super well and it's just designed to break even. It doesn't want to make money. So what do the mothership pay versus the other clubs in Austin? Joe.
Yeah.
Congratulations on being absolutely undeniable. You had your special passed on by all the platforms.
Yes.
You put it up yourself.
Yeah.
You got nearly 1 million views, and they came crawling back. And now the same special they passed on is on Netflix.
It's not, well, yeah, I guess by the time this comes out, it's on Netflix.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, this, yeah.
How does that feel?
Thing. Look, you know, I did not have any, you know, animosity to it being passed on. There was a part of me that was sad. Hurt's probably too strong a word, but those moments can be a bit deflating, because it's very easy to let them, sort of define your worth in that moment. And, you know, especially when I felt like, and I still believe that this special was the best thing in stand-up I'd ever done, hands down. And it was the hardest I'd ever worked on anything in my life. It was 3+ years of developing it, refining it, rewriting it, you know, many nights backstage.
I've never seen a special like it. So I know that you grew up Catholic, you love horror films. Somehow you fused both of those energies into this. It like feels pastoral in a way. I don't know how to explain it. It's like you're kind of explaining the ills of the world to a congregation from somebody who's kind of lost faith in the world. It's got this, and then it's structured kind of like a horror film. You cut to people in the crowd that aren't laughing. It's so funny, and I've just never seen anything like it.
Well, the idea behind it was, eventually, the visual idea behind it was I very much wanted it to be a conversation. I didn't want it to feel like a stand-up show. I wanted it to feel like I was talking to you, which is why we did all the extreme close-ups of audience members and why I chose to show audience members during setups of jokes more than I was showing them during punchlines. You know, I understand why shots of audiences laughing are in comedy specials, obviously, but to me, it really only serves two purposes. Number one, as a transition shot, so you can show something and cut between your angles on stage more cleanly or whatever. Or I guess to let somebody watching it on mute know people are laughing, you know? So for me though, with this, I thought it wasn't about that. I didn't want any part of this special to feel like I was giving myself any accolades, and even showing, look how hard that person's laughing at the thing I just said. That just didn't feel right. What I wanted it to be was, I wanted to do like a conversation, show how people are absorbing what is being said in real time. What does this look like? And that took on a much greater life in the special, and in people's watching of it, what they would comment on to me about it, than I had anticipated. It was just an idea that I thought was interesting. But yeah, man, it was, it's a weird I shouldn't say full circle moment, but this was something that it was evolving every single time I did it. I'd never done anything like that. And like, you know, I'd be backstage before the first show of every weekend I was doing, rewriting the ending over and over. I had Caitlin Reese, who's a very funny comic, with me through a lot of those shows. And I'd be sitting there and being like, well, what about this? Does this make sense what I'm saying? And like through that process, like I finally got to a point where it was one of those things. I knew the spine was there. I just didn't know exactly what it was yet. I just knew it was there. When I first started the show, it ended, this was long gone, but it ended with this, I don't know what I'd call it, because it wasn't funny. It was literally just telling everybody, like, you know, you're in shit. This shit is gonna keep getting deeper. COVID was just the beginning. Welcome to hell. This is over. This will never, you will die in your own shit. It was really, really cynical. But it's an interesting thing happened on that show where I was workshopping that ending. In the middle of the show, I told the story that I ended up making the end about a fan blocking me on my own fan page,
Yes.
Twitter, and that joke ends with, and everybody can suck my dick, and my friend Mike Carr, who I used to play in bands with, came up to me after the show, and he goes, "Great show. What are you doing?" And I go, "What do you mean?" He goes, "The show is over when you tell the audience to suck your dick." And that's like in the middle. I was like, oh yeah, you're right. So that made me move that story to the end, but I still didn't know why it was at the end, other than it's like, and then all of a sudden I realized, oh my God, what I'm really talking about here is bullying. That's really what this whole show has been about. It's about bullying. It's about the bullying of people bullying you with their progressiveness, people bullying you with their ignorance, people bullying you with their political stances. And when I realized that, then all of a sudden it was like, oh, that story's at the end for a reason, because it's the ultimate, it's the funniest version of bullying. One of my own fans was bullying me through my own fan page on Twitter. Like,
it's the funniest story.
Get more turned on its ear than that, you know? So, you know, and then the whole shit blew up with the nurses again, and I got in all the trouble with the nurses online. So then all of a sudden that made sense to go in. Here are a bunch of people that have taken an oath to help people, and they're attacking me and sending me mildly veiled death threats. So anyway, so when, and I can't express how much love I have for Joanne Grigioni at Netflix. She's one of my best friends in the world, and she's been one of my best friends and one of my greatest supporters in this business.
What's her role at Netflix?
She's in comedy. I guess it would be development, right? But she was at Comedy Central before that for many years. Joanne gave me my first TV time, my airtime on Comedy Central. She gave me my first special, which was a half hour. She gave me my second special, which was a second half hour, and made me privileged enough to be one of the few comedians that did 2 of those. And then she gave me my hour on Comedy Central, which was my first hour, and she championed me directing it, which I got to do. So she was disappointed when Netflix couldn't take this on.
So it wasn't her call to pass initially?
I don't know whose call it was. I didn't really get into it with her. I just knew as a friend, this is why she's a real friend. She will never bullshit me. Like, you know, when it comes to work, she's never gassing you up because she's afraid that her friend is going to feel bad. She knows it's much more valuable to be truthful. So when we had the conversation that they couldn't take it, she was just very candid about it. And she's like, look, it's just what it is right now.
And you filmed this all yourself, and that's what they passed on. They didn't pass on the idea of it, they passed on the finished product.
No, I sent them the finished product. My cousin
You funded it yourself.
I called my cousin Jeff, who I knew was in a position. He's a comedy fan, and he loves what I do for some reason. And he's a fan of all the guys I'm friends with and the guys I roll around with. And I knew he might be in a position to function as executive producer. And I called him and I said, hey man, if you could fund this, this is what the deal is. And he's like, yeah, cool, let's do it.
Sick.
So Jeff, alongside with my management, Forza management, Emilio and Claire and Nick and Scott, their hard work, they helped us in production and saving us costs. And then Eric Abrams and Jordan Levy came in, who are the 2 best guys in the business you could ever want to do a special with. They came on as DP, Jordan, and executive producer. Well, they're both executive producers, I believe, but Eric came in specifically as an executive producer. And Eric said, hey man, I think this is a great idea, and I think this is a cool thing you want to do. And he said, I don't think you need me. And I said, I do need you. And he said, why? And I said, because you're about the only person I would trust to be looking at the monitors when I can't do it. If I'm directing this, I'm on stage, I need your eyes. And he got it, and they came in at a more than fair rate and hired Matt Schuler and his production company, who helped assemble all the other parts we needed at a more than fair rate. And we got it done. And then I sent it out to Netflix, Hulu, HBO, I think.
You or your management?
My management sent it out, yeah. And then Hulu said no. Netflix passed, but Joanne called me and said, I want you to know how good I think this is. We just can't do it. I said, okay. So again, in that moment, you kind of feel it's easy to let that define your worth. It's easy to start going down the road of, I've been doing this for 25 years. These outlets are what this business is now, next to YouTube. It'd be nice to know I had this option. And I was like, you can't do that. And Emilio, my manager, he was very adamantly, almost too dismissive almost. Whatever, man, we're moving on. What's next? I was like, can I be sad for the weekend?
So do they give you feedback on the past, or is it generic, like it's not the right time for us now, or?
We didn't get into that. I just knew, again, as somebody she's been one of my closest friends and colleagues for decades. I just knew, we didn't need to. I just knew there was a reason. I knew it certainly wasn't that she didn't think it was good. That was almost enough for me. It was almost enough to know, like, she'd really like to do it, but they can't. And that was it. And then 2 days later, we were on the phone with, at the time the company was Matter. Now they're called, now it's a different company, Wildline. But these 2 guys, Barrett and James, who are my YouTube guys, they came in and they were like, here's how we're going to do this. And they did an amazing job. in the way it was distributed on YouTube. And
did you upload this on a fresh channel?
a fresh channel. I had no followers.
Crazy.
I had no subscribers on YouTube. I was like, and I called them like a month before. I go, guys, what the fuck are we going to do? The channel doesn't have subscribers. They were like, don't worry, it won't matter. And in the first week that it dropped, they did this great thing with an early access promotion. You can see a commercial-free and uncensored early access. So that helped build pre-momentum.
And that was, promoted off platform, like on your Instagram and all of that?
That was on a different platform that was connected to my YouTube. I can't remember the name of it at the moment.
Okay.
But, and then look, I mentioned 25 years. 25 years came in handy when it came into promotion, because God bless, my friends who are comedians in this business, because I called Joe Rogan, Tony Hinchcliffe, Ari Shaffir, Shane Gillis, Stavros, We Might Be Drunk, which is Mark Normand and Sam Morrell. I called the biggest podcasts in comedy, and every single one of them hit me back in 1 minute. And they were like, what do you need? Let's go. When's it come out? Rogan hit me back in 30 seconds.
Amazing.
I hadn't done that show in 10 years. We're friends, I do the club all the time and I see him all the time. But I was always really like nervous to be like, can I do it?
Yeah.
Like, well, if you got a special coming out, I guess this is probably a good time to ask. And I texted him and I was like, Joe, I hate to ask. I feel dumb. I got my special coming out, the whole thing. 30 seconds later, I think it came out on, July 28th or something. He's like, want to do the 27th and it'll come out on the 28th? It's like, thank you, dude.
What a blessing.
Yeah, and then Hinchcliffe, man, he fucking put me on, like, it was like 3 Kill Tonys in like 6 weeks.
Wow.
Ones that came out before, that plugged when it was coming, ones that came out like that week, ones that came out a week later, 2 weeks later. And then I went out to LA and I did Santino and I did Bad Friends, and it was like the love really, it meant a lot to me. It meant a lot to me. And it got off to a great start, and it's still, it's still climbing. It's getting up there almost at 1 million, which is nice. And then 8 months later, I got the call. Joanne texted me and she said, hey, I have a work question for you. Do you want me to call you or should I just call Emilio? And I said, well, call me, because now I want to, and I'll be wondering what this is. And she was like, it sucks that we couldn't pick it up the first time. We really want the special. Would you want to put it on Netflix? I was like, geez, yeah, of course. So,
and how? Okay.
And I knew, and I knew in that conversation, I knew that that's what she was trying to say before. That's why it wasn't insulting. It was just like, I know that if she could do this right now, she would. She just can't. And let's just see what happens later.
But also the lesson there for me is just be undeniable. You don't need the gatekeepers. You just put the numbers up on the board and then you'll get whatever you want.
There's 2 sides to that. There is the side where the undeniable thing goes extraordinarily viral. I mean, look, I agree with you, because the example I always used to use was Whoopi Goldberg. Late 70s, whatever it was, early 80s. She's a black female performer. Hollywood is not exactly rushing to embrace black female performers at that time. And she goes to wherever it was in New York and does this one-woman show, and it just gets so much momentum that eventually the industry is like, what is going on over here? And then they put it on HBO, and she becomes Whoopi Goldberg, right? So she was always the biggest inspiration for me in that sense, because I just thought it was such an amazing story, and an amazing feat. So yes, there's that version of Be Undeniable and whatever. The other version of it is, which has been more my experience, which is being well embraced and well loved by your colleagues, and the people that support you who are viewing the stuff and absorbing it are extraordinarily loyal, and that's great. Monetarily, it doesn't turn into the thing you would hope, which is retirement money. You know, you're still worried about. I'm not broke. I'm very lucky to be living the way I am off of what I'm living, off of what's letting me live that way. But it is still just, all right, it's a lot of what's next.
Yeah.
I can't afford to ever. I can afford now to pick and choose a little bit more what I want to do versus what I don't want to do, but I can never afford to stop. It is just constant, like, you know.
All right, so let's go through an exercise then, because there are three types of careers, I believe. The one career that is just going to sit there and wait for something to happen, and mostly it doesn't happen.
Yeah.
The other career is you sit there and wait for something to happen, and then it fucking explodes, and then everyone thinks the person's a genius, but there maybe is talent and a lot of luck involved in that. And then there's the other career, which is guaranteeing your success, and it's actually building a business, and it's slowly growing your business year on year by building your audience and building your art and building your team around you, and slowly going over decades.
Right.
And that's the way you guarantee success. And you know, you just got to assume. I believe artists shouldn't assume they're going to get lucky. You got to plan like you won't get lucky. And so I'd like to go through this with you. You've been doing it for 25 years. And I'd love you to tell me the story about how you built your business and your career over those 25 years, starting from you getting on stage for the first time 25 years ago. Mm-hmm. And then as we go through that story, I want to interrupt you and work out, wait, why did you do that deal? Why did you start working with that person? Mm-hmm. Why did you move from New York to Austin? I'd love to just kind of understand how you built that over 25 years.
Sure. Well, it started for me with music at a very young age. I played in the school band from 4th grade. I never really enjoyed it, but I got tremendously into rap music at the same time. I started rapping in 6th grade. That's what I wanted to do.
What's the best bar you ever wrote?
I'm trying to remember this. Half the time, I'm not going to rap it, I'm just going to say it.
Yeah.
Half the time my motto is kill the whole fucking bottle. Stop making sense like Otto. I said it with Paco. Gang of foes, you're a gang of hoes like a brothel you follow.
Oh, there you go. Proper rapper.
I didn't write that one in 6th grade. That's freshman year in college. But good. But no, I wanted to be a rapper. I was obsessed with rap music. I'm not kidding. I used to beg my mom to move to Compton when I was in 6th, 7th, 8th grade. I wanted to move to Compton. I was so obsessed and enamored with gangster rap. And I would make tapes in my bedroom. I had some rudimentary DJ equipment, really cheap shit. But I had a setup with a mixer where you could rap. I was able to rap over a record is what I'm trying to get at, and record it to a cassette tape. So I started doing this in like 9th grade. I'd take a vinyl of a rap song I liked, and they always had the instrumentals on the back, and I'd put the instrumental on, I'd write my own rap to it and make my own song with the beat. And I started, for whatever reason, I don't know, I gave the tape to somebody when I was in freshman year in high school, and it kind of circulated amongst my friends, and my friends were really excited about it. So that was the first kind of boost where I felt like, oh wow, okay, I might be okay at this, you know. So I kept doing it, and then Beastie Boys' Check Your Head came out, and when the Check Your Head album came out, I really hated it because I hated that it wasn't just a rap record. I hated that it had all this other stuff on it. But shortly after that, I started to get into punk rock because I had only listened to rap. That was really all I ever wanted to listen to. There was one or two non-rap albums that I loved. I loved Metallica and Justice for All. I loved Living Colour, Time's Up. But there was only a handful of them. But I was watching 120 Minutes. Rest in peace. That guy just died. The founder, Dave.
What's his name? Yes, I don't know.
Anyway, I was watching 120 Minutes one night. I don't know if it was my junior or senior year in high school. And I saw a video for a song called Stranger Than Fiction by Bad Religion. And the song just hit me like a fucking ton of bricks. And I just was like, I've never heard anything like this, and I love it. And that started me getting into punk rock. I knew nothing. I didn't know anything. I knew the bands, I knew names of bands that my friends that liked it had said. And that same year, Faith No More, King for a Day, Fool for a Lifetime came out, which you could argue is their best record. And, you know, Faith No More to me was just, they were the guys that sang that epic song. And I never liked that epic song because it sounded like guys rapping over rock music. And I didn't care for it.
Didn't like Linkin Park?
Oh, God. No, again, rest in peace. No offense.
Yeah.
No. There's, now that I'm older, like, there's one or two Limp Bizkit songs where I'm like, I get it. I get why people loved this. But I never liked it. I just didn't. I liked Rage Against the Machine, but they were the ones that I felt. Here's why I liked Rage Against the Machine. I felt like Zach De La Rocha understood and respected rap. And I felt like the band tried to make a weird version of rap beats with their instruments. With Limp Bizkit, I never felt, and I might be very wrong, I'm not trying to shit on the guy, but at least with those earlier records, I didn't feel like it was a guy that really respected rap. I felt like it was a guy that went, well, I could rap, I guess.
But Linkin Park is not that.
I don't know enough about Linkin Park. I just don't know. I know I don't like the singles I've heard.
Yeah,
I need to hear more. But then again, I think Jay-Z did stuff with Linkin Park.
Yeah.
So
Mike Shinoda's a proper hip hop head.
Yeah. So I could be very absolutely. And I could be very wrong about Limp Bizkit. I don't know. But anyway, so I started down, I got the King for a Day record, and that, the only reason I bought it was my friend Dan, I was working at a record store, he said, can you please pick me up a copy of the new the new Faith No More record today? And I remember going, why? He's like, because they're one of the best bands ever. And I was like, the Epic Band? Because that's the only song I knew. Now I like that song. He's like, you don't know what you're talking about. They're amazing. I was like, you're an idiot. Whatever, fine, I'll get you the record. So I brought it to him, and he played it, and the song, The Gentle Art for Making Enemies, came on, and I was like, this song is awesome. And he's like, yeah, dude, they're awesome. And then that got me down the road into suddenly more and more hard rock. And then as I liked more punk rock, I liked more hard rock. Now all of a sudden I liked more hardcore and more post-hardcore and Quicksand and all these bands. And then all of a sudden I was like, oh, the Check Your Head album is brilliant. I want to do that. I want to play more than just rap. And that's when I started playing in bands. And then graduated college, moved to Texas. I was down here by myself. I had to make all new friends, basically from scratch. I knew one guy, his name was Don. And he had a girlfriend, and he was kind of never around. So like I just had to make new friends. And I made friends with some musicians. And this was the period where I started getting frustrated with working with other people. And I don't really remember why that started. I remember I'd gotten into this dispute with this guy. I had recorded a hip hop EP, and this guy, his name was DJ Cusser. I remember he said, I had a song on it called, the song was called Battle Raps. And he said, I want to take the verse from Battle Raps and do a remix. And I said, I'm flattered, thank you. And I didn't like what he did with it, because it was all off beat. He didn't sync it to the beat. So it sounded like my rap was all off beat. And I'd go, dude, this is all out of, what the fuck, man? Tempo's off, like, it doesn't. And he's like, I like it, man. I think it's kind of weird. And I'm like, but it's bad weird. This is like, it doesn't make sense weird. You know? And he goes, once I take it to do the remix, it's mine. End of discussion.
It's not the way copyright works.
Yeah. And I was like, all right. I don't think I like working with others anymore. You know? This is annoying. And I moved back home to Pennsylvania. You know, eventually the Fancy Lads broke up. I eventually quit Bernie Headflap. Pat and I eventually just stopped because he had to get a real job and I had to get a real job, whatever it was. Out of all of the things that ended, Paul and I, which we named Salsa Windfall in 1998, is the only thing that kept going and is still going.
Sick.
And Paul and I now actually still record and write together, and we play shows. Not often, but we play them. And we've actually made money playing the shows. Not a lot, but enough to cover costs. And people have bought our records, and people, you know, there's people out there that actually know who we are. And that's the thing that lasted in music. It is also the thing that I still to this day say, if I could just do this all the time, I'd be so happy just doing Salsa Windfall all the time. Not that I'm not happy doing comedy. The art form of music for me comes a bit easier. The way to monetize it is a lot harder. The monetization of comedy is easier. The art form in and of itself is much harder. There are confines and constraints with comedy that just don't exist with music.
And being a comedian, I think, is so close to hip hop. Like the way that you structure punchlines and you know, and verse structures and like set up storytelling, it's a very transferable skill.
There are rap songs where I laugh harder at a rap song than I have almost at any comedian. There's a rap song, Cool G Rap and DJ Polo. It's one of my favorite rap songs of all times. It's called Go For Your Guns. And it's Cool G Rap for 3.5 minutes rapping about, you can try to fight me all you want. I am going to shoot you. And the punchlines in this song, it is one after the next. And it's not a comedy song, but it's so brilliant and so witty. It's one of the funniest songs I've ever heard in my life. And awesome. Like it's like,
yeah.
It's like it gets you like hype. It's a really good gangster rap song. But yeah, dude, hip hop, oh my God, the punchlines I've heard over the years where I'm like, that is so fucking funny. And hip hop will make me laugh, even if it's not like a funny punchline, but just how perfect it is and how witty it is. Like I'll start laughing. Like
I just
the way you laugh when you eat good food.
I've got to send you a new battle rapper I just signed. His name's Anderson Burris. He's the biggest in the world. It's a battle rap. So fucking funny. It's comedy. It's stand-up comedy in hip-hop form, and they're very similar genres. It's fucking epic.
It's wild, and it's pressure some.
Yeah.
It's like, you better deliver right now.
Totally.
Better deliver right now. If you don't, we're going to have a problem.
So when do you get on stage first? How old are you?
It was an accident. It was at the time where like I was saying, I was like, I don't know what to do because I just want to do solo stuff now. And I also was becoming increasingly more interested in social commentary. That's why George Carlin was always my favorite comedian. I loved the social commentary. To me was far more interesting in stand-up than the jokes were. The thing I loved about comedy was that you could tell people what you thought. So I was getting really into Carlin or I was already into Carlin, but I started to get into Bill Hicks, and I really liked stuff where people were just saying, this is what I think. I was visiting home. Dan and I, Dan from my band, The Fancy Lads, we drove by our local bar. It said that it was an open mic night. I said, hey man, it'll be super fun. Let's go in there and play some of our old songs, just you and me, because he was the guitar player. We went in, they put us at the end of the open mic. By the time we got on stage, we were drunk. Crowd was really drunk. They were heckling us. We started riffing and making up songs on the spot about what assholes they were. They started laughing and listening, and then at the end, they were cheering for us. We got off stage. The manager said, you guys are really funny. I'd like you to do your comedy show here. We said, we don't have a comedy show. We're just fucking around. He's like, well, I think you guys are funny. You should do a show here every Monday night during halftime and midnight of Monday Night Football. So I was already thinking about moving home from Texas, and believe it or not, that's all it took to motivate me to move back to Pennsylvania was the promise of doing 10 minutes in this bar every Monday.
Paid gig first out of the jump?
I don't know if it was paid. I don't remember if it was paid. I don't think it was paid.
Okay.
I think it was like, well, if people start coming, we'll pay you.
Yeah.
Nobody ever came. So Dan and I would do these sketches and, whatever. And then Dan said, I don't want to do this anymore. I'm a math teacher. We're performing for 5 people every week. This sucks. And I said, and this was on a Sunday, and we had to do the show on Monday. And I said, well, I'll do the show without you tomorrow. And he said, okay. And I thought, well, I keep having this stand-up comedy idea in my head. Let me try it. So I wrote 10 minutes of stand-up comedy that night. It's not good, obviously. And I went in the next night, and it was all just opinions. So I was like, that's what I want to do. I want to be the opinion guy. And I did all my opinions. And there were a couple laughs, but nothing really. And I got off stage, and a kid named Andy that I had gone to grade school with came up to me and chastised me about how offensive I was and told me I shouldn't be saying these things. And that was the moment where I went, I'm going to do this. That's what it was. It was not the laughs. It was
Amazing.
It was somebody saying to me, you can't do that. I was like, wow, this is cool.
Because you realize you created an emotional reaction in someone.
It was that, but I'm also very fueled by spite.
Okay.
Spite has always fueled me greatly. And I'm petty. So petty spite towards one person. And then my friend Scott said, it was good, but you should add some punchlines. I was like, yeah, you're right. So I went back the next week, did it again, and then, eventually started going down to the Laugh House in Philadelphia. Shouts out to the former Laugh House. It's now a Rita's Water Ice. And met some great people. Amongst them were Rod, the owner, Mona, the owner, who supported me very much from a very early.
You just emailed them and said, hey, I want some regular spots?
No, there was an open mic.
Okay.
Anybody could sign up, so I would go and I'd sign up every Wednesday. And particularly, there was a guy named the legendary Wid, who was the original prop comic. He was the first guy to ever do props. And to Ray Gordon. And they became kind of like mentors to me. Particularly, Wid gave me a push and gave me a lot of great advice. But then Two Ray actually really did become like a mentor to me. I haven't talked to Wid in a long time, but Two Ray and I are still in touch. And that meant a lot to me, man. It really did. And he guided me, he helped me. And he's the one that took me in the office, all black club. I was one of 2 or 3 white comics there. After a few months, he took me in the office, and Mona, the owner, was sitting at the desk. And it was a really small office, so we were like standing over her. And he just goes, "You got to stop fucking around and start using this guy. I'm telling you, use this fucking guy." And she was like, I could tell she was a little like, "Well, I don't appreciate how you're handling this, but okay, I'm listening." And she called me the next day. She said, "Do you want to come in and host this weekend? This is what it pays." And I was like, yeah. And that was that.
Sick. And so you were how old? You were 20, you said you were 26.
No, 22.
22. You're 22. Okay. So you're 22, you're hosting this regular gig in Philadelphia.
Not regular, but it was like hosting would be like once a month. Every comedy show had a host.
Yeah.
So yeah, once a month they give me a weekend. But I mean, Christ almighty, at that point, I mean, I also knew prior to that I was going to do comedy, because the first actual money I made in comedy was a guy named Dave asked me to perform at the opening of a liquor store in Atlantic City. And he said, "I can pay you $40. And I went down. The show was outside on grass. People were sitting at picnic tables. I did 10 minutes. I got laughs. He handed me $40. My friends Scott and Pete were there. Me, Scott, and Pete walked directly into the liquor store that had just opened, bought $40 of beer and booze, and partied all night. And I felt like the richest guy on planet Earth, man. I was like, this is incredible. I can't believe I just paid for drinks with comedy.
Yeah, that's
fucking
awesome.
Joy.
Yeah.
And then when Mona gave me the hosting gigs, then that was like, you're making a few $100 for the weekend. I was blown away.
Yeah.
And doing 5 shows. So now all of a sudden you had 5 shows versus 1 in a week. And it was just incredible.
So that's a big milestone. So you get your first hosting gig. You start making a few $100s a week. When's the next?
Not a week.
A month, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, like a weekend.
I think I
once
was
a month.
delivering pizzas and shit.
Yeah. So when's the next milestone?
The next milestone was Jay Okerson, Big Jay. He came down to Philly to do the Laugh House, and he saw me, and he started talking to me. Jay was a couple of years ahead of me. When I started, a year or two before me, Kevin Hart, Jay Okerson, and Kurt Metzger had started there together. Kevin, within 2 years, was already becoming famous, which is nuts. Jay saw me. Jay came back to Philly. And he saw me, and he was talking to me, and he was like, "What are you doing? Like, what's your plan?" And I go, "I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out. I know eventually I'm supposed to go to New York, right?" And he goes, "You got to go now, man." He's like, "You're ready. Don't stop fucking around. Get up there." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Had no idea how that was going to work. So I went up a couple times and visited Jay, and he kind of showed me around a little bit. And then he called me and he said, "Hey man, my roommate's leaving. You want to move in with me?" So I did. Moved in with him, his girlfriend at the time, and their daughter. And I just saw the 3 of them at Shane's show at Lincoln Financial Field. And and now it's wild. His daughter is 20. She was 2 when I lived there. I mean, so she's in her mid-20s, my math sucks. So it's crazy. It's just crazy. But anyway, and that was it. That's what started the New York journey. And it was not easy. I was blessed that Jay introduced me to people and helped me figure out ways to make a couple bucks initially. But it was a long process. And there was a lot of people in line. And that was tough.
This is getting past at clubs in New York?
It was that, and then it was you get past, they never use you. Like it was, you get past, then you get unpassed. It was a lot.
When did you start feeling comfortable?
Yeah, I don't even know. To be honest, when I left.
Okay.
I left New York after about 15 years to go to LA for my first writing job on the Pete Holmes Show. Pete has been one of my closest friends in comedy for almost from the beginning. or at least the beginning, since New York. And I had been headlining Gotham Comedy Club. They were amazing to me. They got behind me and really believed in me, you know. So there were places I felt comfortable. I felt comfortable at Gotham because I knew they believed in me, because the Mazzilli brothers who own it, and then Sean, the booker, and then also all the different managers and Ed and all the people that were there at that time. They were very, very vocal and supportive, which is not a thing always at a club.
And did they get jealous when you played at other clubs?
No. They were very there was none of that. There was none of the pissing contest territorialism with them. They were very vocal and very supportive. So I felt really comfortable there.
Nice.
Then I'd go up to the comic strip, and I never felt comfortable there. I'd get spots at, I'd get a check spot at 1:30 in the morning, and I never really did that well, and I didn't get a ton of spots, and I just felt like they weren't that into me, and I always felt like that was probably the last spot. And I wasn't good at that time, I wasn't good in situations like that because I would self-sabotage.
How?
I'm going to dump you before you dump me. I'm going to go on stage tonight, and if I'm having a bad set, I'm going to go at the audience in a way that you're going to say, we're going to not use you anymore. Stuff like that. Not good, not healthy. But it was where I was at the time. And these are just, hard lessons you got to learn. I still have that demon is still in me. I have to fight it. It's tough. It's tough. That's, of all the things I wish I could really change about myself, I wish that was not there, but it is. I'm much better at keeping it at bay. But New York was tough, man. And I didn't fully feel comfortable until I left. I went to LA. I started writing.
Before you go to LA, did you have a team in New York? You ever work with a manager or an agent?
Oh man, I went through fucking everybody. I was like the Liz Taylor of. I was married to everybody.
Well, tell me. So, who was your first manager? Who was your first agent? And did this happen? This happened in New York, I see.
My first managers were the Steinbergs. My first agent was APA. I think it was Mike Berkowitz brought me into APA, but I wasn't with him. I was with some other guys. I'm blanking on their names. Then I was with 3 Arts. And then I was with McDonald Murray. And then I was with my friend Bjorn managed me, but he went to a different company. I can't remember what the company was. And then I was with Jonathan Branstein. I'm still friends with all these people.
So why the rotation? What?
Because it was a different look. It was a very different business back then. There was no version of, I want to do this. Let's figure out how to make it work. It was, I want to do this. And if you want it to work, it's going to cost an incredible amount of money that you don't have.
Give me an example.
I can't get a special. How about I shoot my own? Okay, great. You have $400,000? There was no affordable camera to get. There was no YouTube to put it on. There was none of this shit existed. So it was, eventually it did, obviously. So the rotation was merely me not being able to get things done within the system that existed, which was the Hollywood system. Now,
and then you would blame the manager for that?
I wouldn't blame them. I would just be like, we're not getting anywhere.
Yeah, okay.
And eventually, both parties, I think, get a bit frustrated. I remember TJ Miller, who's one of my best friends now. I didn't know him that well back then, but I remember both he and I were at 3 Arts. Both he and I were at 3 Arts at the same time. I remember saying to my manager, Josh Lieberman, I'm not TJ Miller. It's not going to be self-perpetuating, because TJ was a guy that was just undeniable. It just moved. And he worked hard too. I'm not saying he didn't, but it just moved. He was an undeniable presence. He was a good-looking dude. He's a physically large man. His energy fills like an arena. He's very off the wall. He's very unique. And he's a great actor. And he's funny. You know, it's just like, I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that's like a little more subdued, that wants to try to do this web series about this thing that's a little more like a movie, but it's in 6 parts. And they're just like, what the fuck are you, we can't, there's no, why are they going to give you money to do that? It won't do anything. You know, so like, it was tough.
This is the thing about managers. There are the managers that just try to sign talented people and hopefully something takes off. And then there's the other managers, the other type of manager, which is I think the manager you have now, Emilio, who is all about building equity and actually building a business and putting the outcome into your own control.
Well, Emilio and I met at the right time. Emilio, eventually this all led to Emilio. And I don't have an agent right now. I just do everything with the Forza crew. But he came in at the right time. He became a manager at the right time for the way he works. The way he works wouldn't have worked 15 years ago. He would have had to work in a very different way. Mm. Because back then, if they weren't giving you their money, that was, well, 15 years ago, YouTube existed. You could, but that was such a different world. It was like the things that were going viral back then on YouTube, the things that were getting millions of views and subscribers. You know, it was the angry video game nerd, and it was stuff like that. It was suddenly this whole new type of show that I eventually realized were the types of shows I was trying to get made. You know, the one that fucking kills me is I pitched a cooking show and I championed this thing forever. And the premise, I'm not exaggerating, at least 20 years ago. And the premise was, you know, when you watch a movie and they cook a meal in the movie, well, you take the movie scene and then you make the meal. Because those scenes always make, never going to happen. Never going to happen. Why? They're never going to pay for the licensing in the movie scene. It's too much rent. It'll never happen. Why will it never happen? Because at that time, the only way it could happen was if the Food Network bought it. It's a fucking massive YouTube show now. This exact show is a massive YouTube show. I'm not saying it's the most unique idea in the world, but my point is what I started to notice on YouTube in later years was, oh, all of these things that I kind of wanted to do, you can do on YouTube now. Have I done them? To some extent, not to the extent I want to, and that I'm trying to do now. But, you know, it thrills me that, like, I can have a show on YouTube /podcast with YMH, and I can unbox 4 things I got in the mail that are going into my movie collection. There was no outlet for that before. You know, none, absolutely none. So, and it's coincidentally all happening as the system that we all needed to rely on 20 years ago is kind of crumbling. But that system was what it was. And back then you banked very much on a couple things: selling script, selling a pilot, whether you were going to be in it or not, or booking something, you know, oh God, I got this movie, or I got this TV show, or I got this sitcom. And even then you weren't safe. You know, a lot of guys went into writing. I dabbled in all of it. I knew as I did all that stuff out in LA, it was not sustainable.
It just feels like you've got no control over your own destiny in that world. It sounds like a nightmare.
You don't, and if you're a true comedian, you can't give yourself over to it. Pete Holmes was the only writing room I was ever brought back to. And it was because I wrote stand-up for that show. I was a good tool for him because I could write stand-up, and he wanted stand-up. He didn't want jokes. He like jokes. He wouldn't want late night jokes. He wanted stand-up. So that was a show I was instrumental on. And I'm not saying I didn't contribute to the other shows I worked on, but like, for instance, like Wet Hot American Summer, I had a great experience and an amazing thing getting to write on that first season. And I got some stuff on air and whatever, which is great, but I'm not the person you want in that room because I'm a stand-up first. And if I think my idea is right, I will not let it go. And a showrunner can appreciate that, but doesn't need it. They need a writer who goes, all right, boss, we'll do it your way. And I'm like, we'll do your way, but it's stupid. I'm not disrespectful, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I get it. I totally get it. It's just not a writer. A TV writer has to be a writer first. A TV writer, the best way I ever heard it summed up was there was a documentary on HBO about a bunch of old TV writers that met for breakfast every day at this one place. And they talked about all the stuff they wrote on. And the one guy was like, I wrote 47 episodes of Gunsmoke, this old cowboy show for the young viewers. And he goes, I was a writer. I was a career writer, but I was not a writer in the sense of Hemingway. I was a mechanic. And that's what TV writing is. You're a mechanic. And you could be a really great mechanic, and a really great mechanic can put together a beautiful automobile, you know? But a stand-up, it's just not, it's a different kind of thing. Your whole life. And also too, the ego shift that you have to do, which is really hard. It's really hard to go into a room at night and do a stand-up set and be the person everybody is cheering for, and sometimes afterwards wanting to take a picture with and all this stuff. And then the next day go into a room where you have a boss.
You're an employee.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah.
It's a weird thing to do. You know, I used to have a joke about I'd be the worst Batman because I'm too petty. You know? And I was like, all it would take is me dating a pest, you know, a woman like pestering me. Where were you? You're never here. You know, listen. It's like, I'm Batman, you selfish bitch. You know? But it felt like that. It feels like you want to go in the next day and be like, I'm a fucking comedian, man. You understand? I took 10 pictures last night. You think I'm great. My idea is fucking right. You know? Like,
Yeah.
it's just too hard of a lane switch. So I enjoy doing it. I'm thrilled that, and in some situations it's great because like with Tires, I loved writing on Tires. We had a blast. I had a blast.
Unbelievable show.
Yeah, it's great. And it led to me being on the show.
Yeah.
Now I just get to be on the show.
Yeah.
A few episodes every season. It's fucking awesome. That's really what I want to do. You know? I still love directing. I'd love to direct episodes of stuff, you know. But even with directing is far more in sync with stand-up. You're the guy saying, here's how we're doing it. This is my idea. This is what I want to do. That is far more in sync with stand-up. So I still want to do that stuff. And I still write. I just write more for myself. So I write my own scripts. And you know, but back then, like I was saying, before you could do your own, before everybody could have their own respective TV show on YouTube, the hope was get staffed, sell something, get hired to be in something. Getting hired to be in something was the hardest. Selling something was the second hardest. Third hardest was getting staffed. So I started getting staffed. And I was acting in things. You know, I got to be on Better Call Saul.
And how are you getting these gigs? Did you have an agent at the time?
Just auditions and submissions, yeah.
Yeah.
You have to submit a writing packet. And that was a lot of work.
Did you move to LA with some things lined up? Or did you move to LA and try and win some deals?
I called Pete Holmes. He had a talk show. It hadn't started yet. I said, Pete, I'm trying to get into writing. I want to write for your show. He said, okay. You know, unfortunately, because of the network, I still need you to send a submission. I don't have the authority to just bring you in or whatever. I said, okay. Send me the packet. He sends you the packet. You got to write, 10 pages of shit. One of them was a full monologue for him to do that was conceptual about one topic. Banged it out, sent it to him on a Thursday or a Wednesday. I was at Gotham Comedy Club doing shows, just spots. I wasn't headlining. And Pete called me, and I went into the lobby to talk to him. And I'm like, hey, man. And he's like, Roses. He always called me Roses. Roses, I love you, buddy. I'm just, I'm sorry, man. I got bad news. And I'm like, it's all right, dude. Don't worry about it. We tried. And he goes, well, you gotta fly to LA on Monday.
What a dick. Yeah.
I'm like, fuck you. And I'm like, wait, I got it? And he's like, you got it, buddy. Like, it's you. You're the guy for the job. It's undeniable. I was like, wow, that's awesome. So he hired me. I had to walk over to Sean the Booker. I go, I can't do my spots tomorrow night. He's like, why not? I'm like, I just got hired to write for a TV show. I start on Monday. I have to pack up my entire apartment tomorrow. He's like, okay, that's great. Good luck, man. They were a supportive bunch.
That's sick.
And that's how that started. We did 2 seasons. And this is where I start to say, like, you start to realize it's not sustainable. We did 2 seasons. It got canceled. I didn't have another job lined up. It was a talk show, man. The talk shows around the year. There's no like real hiatus. So I had nothing lined up. And then I got...
What year was this? Or how old were you?
Well, 30.
Okay. So you've been in the game?
35, sorry.
So you're 10 years in? 12 years in?
13.
13 years in.
Yeah, I was
okay.
35.
Yep.
And my friend Christina Lee called me and she said, hey, she was a writing partner with Michael Showalter. She called me, she said, hey, Michael and David Wayne are bringing back Wet Hot American Summer. I was like, wow, that's fucking awesome. I love that movie. She's like, yeah, it's going to be a TV show. I was like, wow, really? She's like, yeah. She goes, I really think you should submit for it. I think you'd be really good. And Michael likes you. He's met you. He likes you. He thinks you're a nice guy. I was like, okay. So I submitted. I was on the road doing a gig when they called me and said, you're hired. You have to be here Monday.
Sick.
And it was Saturday and I had gigs into the weekdays and I left.
Call your agent, say, deal with this.
Called my manager. My manager was like, my manager, Sam Safer at the time. She was my manager Emilio.
Okay.
Sam was an amazing person. She's still alive. She's not dead. She's an amazing person. In fact, she's married to Eric Abrams, the guy that I did my special with. Sam and I had a really, really great relationship. I was very sad when it came to an end, but it was time for it to end. Sometimes people grow apart, and that's okay.
Explain that to me. Artist-manager relationship, how do you just grow apart?
Sometimes it's just the manager starts to move in a new direction and the artist starts to move in a new direction, and that's just kind of what it is, and you still love each other very much, but it happens with marriages all the time. People grow apart, and it's like, I just don't want to live this way anymore. I kind of want to live over there and be like this. I don't want that. I'm more interested in going further in this direction. and you call it a day, but you still love each other and respect one another. But Sam was great. So she called me and we talked about it, and she was like, I'm going to advise you to talk to Christina. I think you should do this, as terrible as it is that you're about to bail. And I was like, oh my God, my anxiety. I can't even begin to tell you. And I called Christina and I was like, Christina, I'm in a real bind here. And she was like, Joe, I think this could be a life-changing opportunity for you. I really think you should do this. It was such a, what is the word? There was just so much hype around it. There was so much hype around this show that this cult classic movie was going to be continuing on, and that most likely the entire cast was coming back. And the entire cast meaning Bradley Cooper, Amy Poehler, Paul Rudd, these people, Elizabeth Banks, these people that had gone on to become massive movie stars. So I did it, and it was a great experience, but I wasn't right for it because I'm not right for a writer's room. I'm just not. I learned a lot.
It's honestly incredible to have that kind of clarity, to be honest.
Hey, look, I was a waiter, and when I didn't get a lot of tips and was always furious at the table I was waiting on, I was like, I'm not supposed to be a waiter. I'm not supposed to be a waiter. I'm not good at this. I think I'm a good writer. I don't think I'm a good writer's room writer. And it's because I'm a stand-up. You know? Stand-ups don't walk off stage after delivering what they believe to be good material to a crowd that is not receptive, saying, oh, well. They walk off going, what the fuck was wrong with those fucking people? Right? Don't they get it? You know, that's the thing. So it's just a different mode of thinking. It's a different energy. That said, I made some really great friends there, and people I was very happy to be around. You know, it's nice to see Michael Showalter once in a while and be able to talk to him. You know, I grew up watching The State. I respected the shit out of him. David Wayne, same thing, you know. And when I did my Comedy Central special, the production company that produced Wet Hot American Summer produced my special. So that was a big moment for me, that this very, what I consider to be sort of exclusive production company wanted to work with me.
And this happened while you were in LA?
Mm-hmm.
Great.
And they wanted to work with me because we had a great rapport. I've never left any of these jobs on bad terms. It's just, it's the old Sinatra song. It was just one of those things when he's singing about the one night stand. It's just one of those things. It's just one of those crazy flings, you know? Let's not try to pretend it was more than it was. You had a good time. So after that, I wrote for Moshe Kasher's. He had a show called Problematic. Moshe is one of my close friends. It was fun writing with Moshe. It was fun working with him. And that I just worked on the pilot. Then I wrote for a cartoon. It was called Jeff and Some Aliens. It lasted one season, got canceled. So you're seeing this pattern here where I'm just like, and amidst all this, I'm booking some acting work. But then the acting work is like, you know, I did Better Call Saul, which was great, but I was only on 2 episodes a season. You can't live off of that. And then I thought, well, Better Call Saul is going to open all these other doors for me acting-wise. And it didn't, because the business was changing. The way they were casting was changing. Stunt casting was becoming much bigger.
What's stunt casting?
You know, it's a small role, but we're going to put the most famous person we possibly can into it.
Cameo shit.
You know, yeah. Stunt casting was not only becoming more popular, what your following was on social media was becoming a lot more popular, and the way you could use your social media to help the show. And then also the "we don't want any more straight white guys" thing started creeping in, which did not help me. So it was a lot. It was just changing. The writing jobs were becoming fewer and further between. In fact, after Jeff and Some Aliens, I never wrote on a show again until Tires. That was a big gap. No, that's not true. I worked on Crashing, Pete's show Crashing, just for a few weeks. But and then I had sold, also amidst all this, 2 or 3 pilots. One thing leads to another, something goes wrong. They never make it to production. You never see a dime. I had a movie optioned. I got paid a little bit of money to develop it. Never moved forward.
During all of this time of trying to get something away, you're doing stand-up in LA?
Barely.
Okay.
Because I wasn't a paid regular at the Comedy Store yet. And in LA, the game in LA is kind of like the Comedy Store is. If you're not famous, the Comedy Store is, in my opinion, is it. Because if you're a paid regular, you will get to work. The Improv is great, and the Laugh Factory is great. But for me at the time, those clubs felt more like, hey, there is a very distinct hierarchy here, and if you're famous, you can do a lot of stage time here. Unless somebody more famous wants to do stage, But
it's not the same in New York?
Not as much.
Okay.
Not as much. But if you're just a comic, which at the time I really was, you couldn't, that was it.
It's hard to bust your way in.
Yeah, so I was doing a lot of the alternative rooms, as they called them. Nerd Melt was big. Chris Hardwick had Nerdist, the podcast network. So that started happening, by the way, too. All of a sudden, this podcasting thing was becoming very real. Nerdist happened. What is it? Earwolf? Is it Earwolf? Is that Scott Aukerman's? I think it's Earwolf. That happened. Red Band was doing the Death Squad thing, and Rogan was massive. Rogan was already like this thing that was big. So this podcasting thing was becoming very real. I had no clue what kind of money people were making. Had I known, I would have taken podcasts seriously sooner. So that was happening. And you could just see the shift. But anyway, I was doing these alt rooms and these bar rooms and stuff. And then all of a sudden they started closing. Excuse me. And that was it. Last acting role I had booked in LA was for a sitcom called Living Biblically. It's a multicam for CBS. My podcast co-host at the time, Pat Walsh, was show running the show. He'd created it. And he said, I want you to come in and read for this guy, Gary. He's kind of like the Office Lothario. I said, okay, cool. So I went in. Johnny Galecki from Big Bang Theory was the producer. And I went in and I read with this guy, Jay Ferguson, who was on Mad Men, and, great guy. They're all, yeah. But anyway, I read with Jay, and it popped. It was really good. It was really, really good. And I was like, I think I'm going to get this. And I got it. And we were shooting it. Andy Ackerman, who's like the Martin Scorsese of sitcom directing. He directed Cheers, Frasier, Seinfeld. It's nuts. He was directing it. I'm in a cast with Jay Ferguson, Sarah Gilbert, Cameron Manheim, David Krumholtz. I'm just like all these actors that I'd watched for years, man. I'm just like, this is fucking crazy. And there were 4 female executives at CBS, and they were the meanest women I'd ever met in my life. And their boss was the reason I got the job. Their boss saw my tape and said, this guy's fucking funny. I want him to do it. It's like, wow. The head of CBS Comedy said, he wants, wow, cool. And these 4 women under him, they hated, they just did not like me. They said the character I was playing, they hated me. And we shot the pilot. It's crushed. I did great, you know. I was a key part of the pilot. Show gets picked up. I get booked for 10 episodes. I'm like, here we go. Finally, life is going to change. 2 weeks before, they fired me.
Oh.
2 weeks before production, they fired me because they cut the character. They didn't want the character in the show. I didn't understand what was going on. And then 2 weeks after the show aired, Me Too hit. And I was like, oh, I played a perv.
Oh.
They didn't want the perv character on the show because it's a pervert in the workplace. And the reason those women were mean to me was because their boss was Les Moonves, who was one of the most Me Too guys.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
I mean, it was like the worst luck. And dude, the dominoes fell. It was 3 years of steady work in LA and the dominoes just fell. You're not on the sitcom. You and your manager just broke up. The 2 pilots aren't going to go to production. You're not getting a dime. Your movie's not moving forward. Nerd Melt is closing. You're not a paid regular yet at the Comedy Store. That was it.
So what was the personal cost to you during this time?
The personal cost?
Yeah.
I spent all my money. I spent all my money living off of what I had managed to save for 3 years. And then I went into debt. And then I said, after 3 years, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Can't do this anymore. I gotta go. I gotta go back to New York. I gotta be a stand-up again. I've lost my way. This is not sustainable. And I moved home on credit cards. The most stressful period of my life. Had a breakout of adult acne.
Wow.
In my 40s. But I got back to New York. I managed to secure an apartment that Paul Italia, who owns The Stand, got me an apartment. He had real estate connections. He got me an apartment for $2,000 a month in Alphabet City. It was a dump, but it was $2,000 a month. And there were no windows except for in the bedroom, which was just a wall they put up that could fit the width of a bed. The only sink was in the kitchen. It was a dump, but I was like, I don't care. I'm going to be doing comedy all the time. This is just a place to lay my head to rest. And I started making the rounds in New York, comedy. I was doing so much comedy. All of a sudden, every week, I'm looking down at my, because they were paid cash, at my cash pile in my room. And every week, I'm putting another $1,500 down.
What were you getting paid per spot, per set at this time?
Depends on where, but like some of them, they were like $150 a set.
Great.
Some were 100, and so.
And how much were you working? How many?
He was just doing shows every night.
Multiple?
Yeah.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I went from having literally no money coming in to $1,500 a week, and then starting to go on the road again, and I was able to do the road more easily because I was in New York.
And this is the time you signed with Emilio?
No, not yet.
Okay.
I was without any representation. No. I'm sorry. That's not true. I had signed with Zach Friedman. It's crazy. I can't remember the name of the company. Jesus Christ. I'd been with Zach since I was in LA. I'm sorry. I blanked.
Okay.
after Sam and I split, Zach and I started working together. And so Zach was able to help me get road work and stuff. And it's hard to do from LA at the time because I wasn't making a lot. And it was expensive to fly out from there. So anyway, I went back to New York and was making money. And I was like, okay, this is going to work. And then COVID hit.
Jesus.
Yeah.
You got perfect timing with all this stuff.
I have terrible timing. I always have.
Yeah.
I always have. And that was rough. COVID hit, and that was just like, Jesus. But not to get too deep into the darkness of COVID, but because it was the darkest period.
And you're in a room with only one window.
Well, no windows if you're in the living room part.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Horrible. That's as close as I've kissed up to suicide in my life.
Really?
Yeah, I just was like, what? Because New York, it was, at least in the States, New York, it was worse than anywhere because we got it first.
Yeah.
And nobody knew anything. You know, as it spread across the country, people we were learning more. And you were also seeing that it could be eventually contained because by the time it really was hitting like the West Coast, we had gotten it down where we could go outside again and stuff. And like it was, but New York was guinea pig. That was ground zero. So it was just horrible. You didn't know what was going on. You didn't know what was going to happen. You thought you could get it from surfaces. I'm walking out into the hallway of this disgusting building that smelled and it was so gross. And it was like,
death is all around me.
You're afraid you're going to get it from the fucking railing or whatever.
Yeah.
And then you go to a supermarket, but you're in New York and everybody is like shoving against you. And this is all before we knew, like, you can't get it like that, man.
Yeah.
Like cough or something, you know, like whatever it was. And also too, chances are if you get it, you're not going to die.
Totally.
You know? So,
yeah.
like, but this was like the Black Plague. So that was a bad time. That was a bad time. But good thing that came from it was Sal Volcano, me, Jay Okerson, and Ari Shafir. We were a COVID group. So when we were able to get tests and hang out safely with each other and all that bullshit, we were a COVID crew. And Jay and I were already very close for all those years. So we just became closer. Christine Evans, Jay's girlfriend, was there. We became closer. Ari and I became even closer. Ari and I were good friends, but COVID really like cemented our friendship because we were like real partners in crime during that. And then Sal, who I was friends with already, but we really became friends. And then Sal and I started a podcast called Taste Buds. And one of the only times in my life where it was perfect timing, we dropped a podcast that was frivolous and silly and about food during a time when people were not only loving podcasts, but very much wanted an escape. And it popped. And all of a sudden, I was making enough money to buy a house.
Selling ad spots in the podcast. Awesome. Who was selling them for you?
A guy named Alex.
Okay.
And that was it. That was life changing.
Amazing.
So that led to, your profile starts to rise now because of the pod. And I bought a house in Pennsylvania, and that led to me doing my special.
That's the most money you've ever made in your life at this stage, right?
Yeah.
How did it feel?
It didn't feel real. I mean, it felt, because it's weird, because you don't get it you don't get it all at once. You know, you have great months and then slow months. So in great months, you get excited. Slow months, you be like, what's going on? Is this all stopping? What's happening? You know what I mean? Like, but it didn't, it was so incremental. It was like gaining weight. you know, you just kind of look up one day and go, oh shit, what have I done? You know, like it didn't, I knew it was good, but it just didn't feel real. But when I bought my house, that was pretty crazy. You know, I was at Skankfest. I was at Skankfest in Vegas, and I had to go meet the notary at a bar in one of the casinos and sign for my house. And I was walking, I looked like somebody just like hit me in the head. And I saw a comic, and he's like, "What's the matter, dude?" I go, I just bought I just signed for my house."
How long did it, when you walk around your house for the first time, I remember having this experience when I first bought a house, and I was like, this stair is my stair. Like, that's a fucking weird feeling. Yeah,
it is weird. It is weird. And also, too, once you get it all decorated.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool to say, wow, this is amazing. Now, of course, the house came along with the worst neighbors I've ever had in my life.
Good.
That forced me to sell it eventually.
Okay.
Which is why I now live full-time in Austin. But I was able to buy my apartment here too. So I was able to buy two properties from Taste Buds and what Taste Buds allowed to happen. Taste Buds allowed for me to get to a place in my life where I was able to finally start to provide some security for myself. And none of that security felt real until my friend James Cargill, he had become a financial advisor, and he was calling me for years and saying, you know, we just stayed in touch because we're friends. But for years, Joey, man, if you ever need any, I was like, I didn't even know what a financial advisor was. I was like, Jim, I got an account, I'm fine. He's like, no, I'm not an accountant. It's completely different. And I was like, eventually I understood, because I started to have friends that talked about their business, you know, and I was like, so I called him one day and I was like, Jim, tell me what to do. And he started guiding me. I started putting money into appropriate accounts and diversifying that money through him. And that's when I was able to see, like, oh, wow, like that period of Taste Buds forward has been a new phase of your life. Because I finally saw what I'd been kind of putting away, and also talking to him and understanding, like, what does retirement look like? What do we have to do to get there? And seeing that I had a chance at it, whereas 3 years ago I didn't think I had one.
No window New York time. You wouldn't have imagined it.
No, my uncle. Well, also too. You know, my uncle used to say to me, my Uncle John, another rest in peace. He used to say to me, Joe, here's my retirement plan. I'm gonna work till I drop dead. I was like, that's kind of what it is. He had opened a bunch of cell phone stores, and they were not doing well. And he had a lot of debt. And he said, Joe, I thank God for two things every day. I don't have a boss anymore, and that there's no such thing as debtor's prison. He's like, I wouldn't trade it ever to go back and work under somebody ever again. And he would talk to me about that because he understood how I felt with the fears of no structure. The only structure I ever had was when I was with Joey Roses, and I was somebody that was at the top of the food chain in the sense that I was one of the founders of the company. And that sucks. I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It's nice when you can go, well, let's kick that up to that.
Yeah.
So, anyway, I moved, I had started spending more time in Austin. Through Taste Buds, Salsa Windfall got a resurgence. Paul and I started really playing together again. People were coming out to the shows and excited that we were putting stuff out. It was just life-changing.
And were you friends with all of the mothership comedians at this stage when you moved here? Is that why you moved, or did you become friends after you moved?
Not really. Like I was, Joe and I were friendly. I consider Joe a friend now. And I wouldn't say he wasn't a friend prior to that, but we were friendly.
Yeah.
But now it's like, I see Joe and we text and, whatever.
Mm.
Tony and I were friends. We had a nice connection. Tony and I always had a nice connection. I don't know what it was. There was just something about me and him where when we would sit and have a few drinks, we would lock in and laugh really hard together. But we never really hung out. When I moved down here, I was not the part of Kill Tony that I've gotten to become, where I'm really frequently on it, which has been amazing. He and I just, man, we just fucking clicked, and we just laughed a lot and had a lot of fun. Shane and I obviously were already very tight from Philly and all that stuff, but so Shane was down here, so coming down and seeing Shane, and what I realized was, because I had lived here in 2000, moved back, and then I'd always wanted to come back. What I realized when I got back, it was just visiting. Oh, Adam Egget, also, who books Mothership. Rebecca Trent, who owns Creek in the Cave. Then at Red Band, there was just a lot more people down here that I already had established relationships with that only became stronger and tighter once I fully moved down here. But the reason I bring that up is that I did not move down here thinking, oh, well, obviously I will play these clubs all the time. I didn't know. I just was like, you know what? You can live there again, and now you can do your job there, which you couldn't, and that's why you never went back. And that's when I realized I don't have to be in New York anymore. And that was a massive change in life and career for me, because I got out of a place that I found was bleeding me dry financially in an attempt to just live normally. It was also, I love New York. I miss it a lot. Probably what I miss isn't there anymore. But I love New York. I'm not knocking New York. What I started to hate about New York was the cost. Cost became offensive to me. I felt like I was living in an airport. I felt like everybody was gouging me for as much as they possibly could. And I just got tired of never being able to turn my back without worrying somebody was going to steal something from me. It was so constant. My apartment got burgled at one point. It got burgled in such an impossible way. I was like, this is crazy. It's like you're surrounded by predators. Like, I can't do this anymore. And it's just, I started to get immensely angry when I would set foot back in the city. I would drive back in from Pennsylvania because I had the house there. And the second I pulled through the tunnel, I was screaming.
Wow.
Screaming. And I was like, I got to get out of here. This isn't working for me anymore. And at that same time, luckily, again, one of the few moments of wonderful timing in this long story, Austin popped up. And I did South by Southwest one year. And I did a food show as part of the food part. I did comedy in the comedy part, and I did and Salsa Windfall played in the part. And my manager goes, "You just did 3 legs of South by Southwest. You realize that?" And I said, "I'm moving to Austin." And he goes, "What the fuck are you talking about?" And I go, "I'm convinced I'm going to move here. This is it. This is it." I was at the Mothership while I was here. The club's great. We did all the food stuff at the Creek. The Creek's great. We screened my special at the Creek. I'm like, dude, this Salsa Windfall play. This is it. We're doing this. I'm going to move here.
So,
and I went that day. I had a flight at 7 p.m. I went that day. The apartment I live in now, I looked at 1 p.m.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I heard you and Rogan talk about the community and family that you have here at Austin and the Mothership, and how it's so close and tight. And how people on the outside of that community are so jealous and angry and like kind of like resentful about it. Now, on my show with Emilio, your manager, he spoke about this rift in Austin that happened since the mothership moved here.
Yeah.
And I always thought it was a bit, as an outsider from the music industry, I always thought it was a bit juvenile because I was like, the music industry has had scenes forever. Like when hip hop came up, everybody within hip hop loved it. Everybody outside hated it. Metal, same deal. And I'm like, this is just comedy getting a new genre for the first time and not knowing how to deal with it.
Yeah.
And I always just associated it as this cultural thing. But then Rogan, speaking to you, said something that I don't think many people have picked up on or spoke about. And he mentioned that the mothership pays everyone super well and it's just designed to break even. It doesn't want to make money.
Yeah, they take care, yeah.
Right? They take care of everybody, which is extremely generous and extreme, like that adds to the sense of community there. But I wonder if there's this unintended consequence from that, because you've got all of these other clubs around which would go bankrupt with that same, they couldn't survive with that same mentality.
Yeah.
And so maybe...
But the other clubs pay pretty well, too.
They pay well, but they need to be profitable to survive.
Yes. Yeah. But what I'm saying is even though they can't do what the mothership's doing, they pay in a way that's still nice. Like,
yeah.
So that's good. That's good too. Because trust me, there are clubs that would not do that. There are clubs that would go, we got to survive, so we're gonna. Again, it's a gouging habit.
Yeah.
Maybe $30.
Yeah. So what do the mothership pay versus the other clubs in Austin?
I can't.
Okay, that's not public?
No.
Okay.
I would never say what I make.
Sure.
Anybody. Yeah.
So what's your take on it? Why do you think, because when Emilio was speaking about this on the show, that is a part of, we're a very industry podcast. We don't really get out to the fans at all. But that did, obviously. And it caught wind and there was a lot of like opinions about this mothership versus the rest. What's your take on it, being on the inside?
I don't understand why it matters to anybody. I don't get it. I had somebody comment to me today on Instagram. I had posted a flyer a couple months ago. I posted one of the original flyers from my band, the Fancy Lads. It was 30 years old, the flyer. And it was a really special memory. And I took a picture of it and I posted it and I said, this flyer turned 30 years old today. And it was a hand-drawn flyer. And I was like, my God, times have changed, whatever. And somebody, for whatever reason, today goes, and now you perform at the mothership with like the like emojis, whatever that's called. And then I'm a smartass, so I go, yes, I do. Next show, Joe DeRosa and Friends, July 29th, come through. And I'm paraphrasing, but she wrote something along the lines of, I supported you for your first show there, ! Had no idea the manosphere vibes and blah, 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 blah of the venue. I used to love your comedy because as a fellow grump, I felt seen. Oh, well, good luck. Oh, and then she goes, she's punk rock. I guess her thing is she loves punk. And she goes, punk rock has always been about inclusion. So it's like, okay, first of all, if you're into punk rock, any manosphere comic joke ain't got shit on what these fucking punk rock bands have been doing over the years. Okay? So you're not into punk rock. You're into Hot Topic. That's what you're into. You're into I get spiteful with this shit, and I started looking at her profile. So much fun at the whatever punk show last night. I jumped up and down the entire show. It's like, yeah, because you are doing 2026 punk rock. That's not what punk rock is, or that's not what it was. I'm glad you found this little insulated horseshit version of it where everything is safe. And that was my response, by the way. I just wrote, keep punk rock safe, ! Because it's like, you don't even know what these words mean anymore. You have homogenized them to fit your little fucking world and your whatever your quotas and whatever are and ideals. And it just, none of it makes sense. But the point that I'm getting at is, I don't know why anybody cares. I don't know why anybody cares. If you're so sensitive that you can't go see a performer that you wanted to see and support, that you've been supposedly a longtime fan of, and somebody else on the show who is not me, who I have no responsibility for or control over, says something you don't care for, and that then makes you say, wipe them out, all of them, which is what the fucking Emperor says in Star Wars, by the way. This sick dictator mentality these people have of that is out of line. Now they will all be destroyed. It's just so crazy. And I bring this up not just to publicly shit on this woman, but to also point out it's the same mentality of these people that feel the need to dissect what it is going on at one club and this other club and this other. Why does anybody care? Why? First of all, anybody bitching about Austin and saying Joe Rogan this or Joe Rogan that, number one, you're an idiot and you don't understand how economies work, because economies are started by people. That's how they work. People that have the ability to create something help start an economy and kickstart it. You might have problems with a lot of people that help start the economies in certain scenes in cities you've enjoyed yourself in. That's not me saying you should have a problem with Joe or you should. Your opinion is your opinion. I don't care. My point is anybody this short-sighted to not understand, well, that's how an economy begins, is ridiculous. Anybody to think that the entire comedy scene of Austin, Texas boils down to a handful of people is ridiculous. Anybody judging those people they think it boils down to based on clips on the internet and not assuming there's more of a complete experience there filled with nuance and complications and interesting things and beautiful things and things you might not care of and things that make up any complete human being is a moron and short-sighted. And you know what? Here's what it really is at the end of the day. They're not morons. They're not short-sighted. They're self-serving egomaniacs. And they know this gets them clicks. And they know that when they say it online, it helps them boost their profile. It is cheap. It is lazy. It is the exact thing that comedians are not supposed to do. It's the exact thing that punk rock is not supposed to do.
You know, it's so interesting you say this.
But that's what they
So
do.
when I was running Rolling Stone in Australia, I was putting millions of dollars into this brand, building up this company. And I remember seeing headline after headline in Rolling Stone America, just hating on Dave Chappelle because he said some trans joke, you know, hating on this comedian because, and I'm like, fuck it. Rolling Stone was like counterculture, not like whatever the mouthpiece of the political trend was at the time. And I remember emailing Rolling Stone going, guys, I'm investing millions of dollars in this brand, and you are ruining it with this being offended about every kind of little joke.
Yeah.
It is like they've completely...
Well, I'm really sick too of the people that built their empires with blood money turning around now and telling the rest of us how to live when they're not going to give back a dime of that blood money. If this is so wrong for all of us now, okay, guys, now let's talk about all the times you did it when it was wrong, because you're the same people that will say, I don't want to hear the "it was a different time" excuse.
Are you talking about people like The Guardian?
I'm talking about people everywhere.
Yeah.
Chelsea Handler comes to mind.
Yeah.
Chelsea made her bones being a horrid human being, saying terrible things that were extraordinarily mean about people. Now that she's got her money, now that it became cool to not say that kind of stuff anymore, she now is going to be the enlightened person teaching on the rest of us how to live. Okay, Chelsea, then sell the mansion and give the money back. You're not going to do that, though, are you? You're not going to do that, are you? These people are they're cons. That's it. They're the people in The Wolf of Wall Street. They say whatever they have to say in that moment to win. They do whatever they have to do in that moment to get ahead. There are no real ethics. There are no real morals. And what the game is banking enough money that when your office finally gets raided and you get called on your shit, you can go away to the metaphorical prison and not worry about starving. That's all it is they're doing. The industry decided a few years back that that ethics were going to be economized and morals were going to be monetized. And certain people chose to just embrace that. And that's another reason I don't buy them and their bullshit progressiveness, because it is not progressive to start saying and doing the right thing because you were reprimanded and told if you didn't stop saying and doing certain things that you would lose your job. That's not called being progressive. That's called getting in trouble. Being a progressive is a hard battle. It's being an underdog. It is not being the overdog. And the fact that these fuckers complain about people that punch down left and right, while they're all working for Amazon, they're working for Jeff Bezos, they're working for Apple, they're working for the biggest, most disgustingly capitalistic groups you could ever fucking fathom. We're punching down. We're punching down. You're sitting at the feet of the emperor. We're punching down. I don't want to hear it. I don't have time for it. I'm tired of it. It's trite. It's stupid. And I didn't need a bunch of bleeding hearts to tell me things like fat shaming were wrong. I was able to figure out fat shaming was wrong when I was 12 years old. Why? My mom struggled with weight. I saw it up close and personal. I had friends that struggled with weight. I felt sorry for them. I was smart enough and insightful to realize it's hard when you're addicted to a thing you have to ingest 3 times a day. That sucks. So guess what I didn't do? I didn't fat shame. This is common fucking sense. But all these assholes, and I love to use that example for one reason, because the people, fat shaming, the anti-fat shaming thing became very popular in about 2013. I think, if I remember correctly. My year might be off, but who cares? These were the same fucking people 2 years later cranking Rage Against the Machine, going, "You fat, lazy Americans." Well, fat shaming's wrong. Yeah, no shit. You know, man, punching down is wrong. Unless we're punching down on the dumb hicks that voted for Trump. Because they're stupid hicks that are too dumb and inbred and poor to know anything. Oh, now punching down's fine.
So where do you think the main motivation comes from?
By the way, where was all the punching down concern when and I'm not shitting on Conan O'Brien. But where was all the punching down concern when Conan O'Brien made Kirstie Alley jokes every fucking night? In his monologue.
He's in their tribe.
Fat jokes about Kirstie Alley every night. Oh God, dude, you got me started. But so these people sitting there saying, especially LA, you know, you want to reduce us to a scene of whatever the fuck horse shit you guys call us. Okay, then you're all pedophiles. Because out of all the pedophilia out there in the world, there seems to be a vast amount of it coming out of Hollywood. Is that a fair assessment? No, of course it's not. It's boneheaded. It's boneheaded. And what I don't get is why people just can't let another group of people go be a part of something somewhere else without this just animosity. And you know what? And I'll shut up. The people I'm most offended for, it's not for me. It's not for the pillars of the sea, whatever. It's for the young comics. New York has made it absolutely impossible absolutely impossible to pursue your dream in the arts. You can't do it. It's financially impossible unless you're being funded.
Because of inflation.
Yeah, can't do it. You think you can live hand to mouth in New York? And forget it. LA escalating prices has made it impossible. Okay. And by the way, the systems in those cities have made it impossible. It is a line a mile long to get into anywhere. It's impossible. Guess what's happening in Austin? There's a ton of young comics here. They're developing at the speed of light because they're able to get on stage every night, and they're also able to live like human beings. Isn't that what all of these progressives are bitching that we should be doing? Isn't that what it's all about? That people can actually live and afford food and be able to see a doctor and do exactly what they want to do with their lives? Well, it's happening here. It's actually happening here. And because there's some political takes and opinions that some people don't like and can't deal with, they have reduced this to a complete fallacy that they describe it with how they describe it as a complete fallacy. I dare anybody to go into the mothership and look at the lineups in there any night of the week. You are going to see on any given lineup multiple black comics, multiple female comics, multiple comics of other ethnicities, okay? Gay comedians, okay? It's like, what are we talking about?
What do you think they're talking about? Answer the question. Why do you think
it's so dumb and short-sighted? I don't even know. I don't even know at this point. I hear more comedians on stage, and I'm not just trying to say the mothership, like I'm not trying to make this all about the mothership, but when you go to, when you see that Moon Tower has, and every comedian is getting on stage and shitting on the mothership. Okay, clearly there's an agenda here of some kind.
What's the agenda? What do you think that they're threatened by?
They've got a massive problem with Joe Rogan, and they seem to have a massive problem with Tony Hinchcliffe. Okay, you're allowed to have a problem with somebody, and I don't have a problem with them. And by the way, I don't agree politically with them. I'm just able to sit across from somebody and say, I don't agree. That's okay. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, you sound like a radical.
But they're my friends. I'll tell you what, I've seen way more behaviors out of them than anything, is generosity. I just looked at the New Faces lineup for JFL this year. 3 or 4 of the comedians were spawned out of Kill Tony. Cam Patterson is on SNL now because of Kill Tony. Dedrick Flynn is blowing up because of Kill Tony. It's like, these are not straight white males that are staunch Republicans. That is not what's happening. People go, he puts cripples on and whatever. It's like, he puts cripples on and celebrates them. Because they're hilarious. Fiona Cawley is in New Faces at JFL. Do you think that's because Tony brought her in and mocked her? Tony brings her in and celebrates her. I've done arenas with Fiona. The place goes fucking crazy for her, and they cheer. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Here's a person who's a comedian dealing with like a debilitating condition, truly debilitating, and her spirit is bigger than anybody's I've ever met. That's an amazing thing. Maybe I just choose to focus on that part of him and not the part where I go, I don't agree with that political thing that you think. So that's just me. That's just who I am. We've been down this road before. Okay, people hated Reagan. People hated Bush. People hated Bush #2. And I remember them saying George W. Bush was going to bring about the global apocalypse. Well, he's doing panel on Kimmel now, getting applause breaks. So what the fuck are any of us really talking about? And by the way, that's not me dismissing Trump. That's not me saying he's doing that's not me saying any of that. That's me saying, whatever. So it's just, the point is I just, It drives me crazy, man. And I've seen people that I really respect and admire doing it. And it's a bummer. It's a bummer because it's just, there's so much more to this place than political opinions of a percentage of people.
I'm super looking forward to tonight. So I've only ever been to the Mothership. I fucking love it. But tonight is going to be the first night I go to every other club that's not the Mothership to actually really get a sense of the...
You're going to have a great time. The Creek is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Which other clubs are you going to?
I've got a list. I don't know. I'm going to go through all of them.
Roscoe's is great.
Yeah.
Black Rabbit is great. I have not been to East Austin. It's like right there.
Yeah.
I heard it's great. I should go. I'm like in walking distance from this place. They're all great, man. There's some, Sunset Strip is great, which is Red Band's room. That's a great, it's great, man. It's a great scene here. It's a diverse scene. Everybody doesn't play at every single club. There are people that are more loyal to one place than another.
Do you play at other clubs outside of the Mothership?
Well, yeah, dude, Creek, because Rebecca and I, go way back. And it's a completely different energy, and it's great. I try to do Roscoe's. I really like Roscoe's. It's a newer club, but they do really nice work over there, and it keeps getting better and better, and I want them to succeed. Those are the three main ones I hit. Once in a while, I'll pop by Black Rabbit and some of the other rooms, and then Sunset too. I do Sunset most Thursdays. I'll do Red Bands like Secret Show or whatever. But yeah, it's a great scene in a bunch of different rooms. And, the most important thing to me is that there are a lot of aspiring young comedians here working and getting work. And, look, in my opinion, Last Comic Standing was one of the most damaging things that could have ever happened to comedy. Okay, they took comedians that for the most part, I shouldn't say for the most part, but a lot of them were not ready. And a lot of them were sent out on tours when they were 10-minute stand-ups, and then suddenly they had to headline. They couldn't do it. It set a terrible precedent. And you know what? I didn't like that show. I didn't like what it was doing. I didn't say everybody affiliated with Last Comic Standing should not be in comedy and it's disgusting. And it's like people have just lost any concept of you're allowed to just not like something.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have to be a crusade. But I mean, are we surprised? You can't even talk about the fucking new Christopher Nolan movie without people talking about how it's going to start a race war or whatever the fuck. I mean, this country is sick. Both sides, it's sick. All of these people are sick.
Mm.
The both sides to this whole coin. It's just, I'm too old, man. I'm too tired. I go to the bar, I drink, I go home. I hope to get married one day so I can have a partner to say all this to in private and live a happier life outside.
Maybe she's watching.
If you're out there, honey.
Joe, your special is out on Netflix now. You got there because you created a piece of art that is undeniable. I am so inspired by this whole 25-year story of constantly improving, getting rejected, moving forward through the most crazy circumstances of rejection and adversity. It's super inspiring. And I want you to finish this sentence for me. For the comics building careers like you have, the sentence is, comics who survive 25 years are the ones who...
Stop. For numerous reasons.
The comics who survive 25 years are the ones who...
Oh, I thought you said other ones.
No.
Sorry.
It's okay.
You're like, what? Are the ones who don't stop. I'll just add the word don't. Look, I always say to young comedians when they start to go and things start to move, and it was advice that was given to me. I said, hey man, All you got to do is not get in your own way. You know, if you like to drink, that's fine. Don't drink too much. Don't show up. Don't fuck yourself up with drugs. Don't be a dick. You know, that's it, man. That kind of sums it all up.
Well, you know what? Through all of the times your projects didn't work throughout your 25 years, you said, while you were telling your story, that you never left on bad terms with any project.
No. And, you know, I almost wish I would have, only in the sense that, you know, sometimes that helps your status and you start to get into that sort of a fabled, like, Harlan Ellison territory where they're like, one time he told an executive to go fuck his own ass and punched him in the face. You're like, and then those things make you like go, wow, that guy's awesome. I'm always like, there's no need for us to be on hard terms, you know, I leave amicably, but no, but I will add to that list of things I just said, don't lose hope. So those are the 4 things that will make you stop. You're either going to lose hope, you're going to fuck yourself up with drugs, you're going to fuck yourself up with booze, or you're going to be an asshole. Asshole is a wide blanket to cover the way you talk to people, the way you treat people. If you're going to be inappropriate in your behaviors with people, these are the things that will hurt you. I think usually even people that succumb to some of those behaviors, meaning the substance-related ones, that can be reversed. People can get out of substance abuse and go, wow, I lost myself there, but it's okay. People can lose hope and regain it. Asshole, that's usually organic. And you're probably not recovering from it because you're probably actually just an asshole. So I still like to say it, but chances are if somebody really wants to be a dick because that's who they are, they're going to be one. So, but that's it. It's just not stopping.
Joe, thanks for being the first artist to ever come on the Black Hoodie.
Hey, thanks for having me, man.
Thank you.
I appreciate it. Oh, can I plug my podcast?
Please, yes.
Okay. Well, so watch the Netflix special. It's out now. I Never Promised You a Rose Garden on Netflix. And then my podcast, Violent Horrendous, with the YMH Podcast Network. That is on YouTube, at Joe DeRosa Comedy on YouTube. You can find it there.
It's a great show.
Thank you very much. And you can follow me at Joe DeRosa Comedy on Instagram. And there you're going to see your announcements for live shows and stuff like that. But my tickets are always being sold on JoeDeRosa.com. I got a bunch of stuff coming up September, October, November, December. Please go look at the website and see if I'm coming to your city.
You're a legend. Thanks, Joe.
Oh, I'm back. Like, I don't take breaks. The world need more hope. I pray it ain't too late. I don't know what the plot is.